All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Nate Zeisler, and I have Jonathan Kuuskoski here, a longtime friend. We worked on an organization called Arts Enterprise together many years ago, and we're just going to have a quick conversation that hopefully will spread some wisdom to you and give you some insights as to what we've been up to, or what Jonathan's been up to, and then some things that you may be considering for your own career. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are and what brought you here.
Sure. So I'm at the University of Michigan, School of Music, Theater, and Dance in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I run what's called the Excel Lab, which is basically like our entrepreneurship and career development resource center for performing arts students. Everything from career coaching and advising to courses, and we even have a minor and a graduate certificate, as well as funding, ample funding opportunities, and a whole list of events with guest artists and alumni. So basically we're a place to support any performing artist who wants to build a life in the arts, get the resources they need to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And so when did you land in Ann Arbor, and what was your path to get to where you are right now?
Well, I came here in 2015 with the launch of this program, but of course my journey to this role actually starts with you, Nate, because it was through Arts Enterprise that I first got involved in sort of this realm of what I think is commonly called arts entrepreneurship, but really how we think about it here is just figuring out pathways to help artists become more resilient by blending expertise from the business side and other facets of industry kind of with the aesthetic training that all performing artists need to find ways to kind of create unique platforms for artists. So anyway, I worked independently and with Arts Enterprise, and I was at a university in Missouri, University of Missouri, for 4 years on faculty there building a program, and that brought me here.
That's great. And were you born wanting to be a director of an entrepreneurship program? What took you from maybe your high school years to where you are now?
Sure. Yeah. No, I wanted to be a pianist. I actually grew up in a family of artists who made their living their whole lives through, visual arts, handicraft arts, storytelling. They definitely build a portfolio of activities. They're constantly learning new skills to be resilient. So I saw them like living that life, and I also saw all the challenges they faced because they didn't have sort of the resources that maybe they could have had that would have made it easier. So when I went to school, I was encouraged to pursue my passion, which was music, but also to think creatively about what are the kinds of skills and opportunities that I might be interested in that could help me build a life.
Sure.
So actually it was through kind of that exploration in college and then in grad school that I came to realize that I enjoyed facilitating experiences, events, and other kinds of opportunities for other artists as much as I enjoyed playing. So I started a professional new music chamber ensemble, and that's really been my focus ever since. I still play. I have a new music duo with my wife, and we do forehand performances at universities and festivals around the country. But really, that experience has been a catalyst for what I don't know if it's a calling, but certainly a change, a pivot in my life to focus on helping young artists build platforms for their careers.
That's really fantastic. And I'm curious, speaking of pivots, I know a lot of folks that I work with are thinking about pivoting, and I'm just from moving away from that dedicated career in music to maybe something else, or moving more deeply into music. Talk about when that decision came for you, and how that I think the question that often comes up is that sense of feeling fulfilled artistically, and how the path that you've taken, which is a very specific and the right path for you, how that path how the pivot helped that path move forward.
Okay, yeah. So in simple terms, the pivot is first and foremost mindset. So it's a pivot from wanting to have the best career as a pianist to wanting to make the most impact through my skills.
Yeah.
And those could be the same thing, but they could be the second option could be much broader. So that was the mental shift that occurred, and it really happened when I was finishing grad school. I was involved in Arts Enterprise, but I was still very focused in piano. I was doing some competitions, and I was preparing my Beethoven and Chopin and Debussy and all those things. And I was basically I had a performance opportunity, a recital where I was playing. It was a culmination of my training as a pianist to do some traditional rep, and then I was doing like a flash mob performance in the farmer's market. And these were relatively close to each other. And I felt personally a lot more impact and a lot more sort of energy and excitement about the meaning behind why I was pursuing the second option,
Sure.
or the second activity, than I did the first. The first was obvious because of an aesthetic thing that I cared about.
Yeah.
It wasn't so obvious to me that, like, I realized that my contribution to the world as an artist is probably not going to be through my interpretation of Beethoven.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other people that probably do that better than me. But so part of it is not deprogramming, but reprogramming the way that you think.
Sure.
Because the hardest part about that kind of a pivot, which is to say that, maybe my contribution is going to be to facilitate new music concert experiences, right?
Right.
Or now I think about it as my job is to help artists self-start their careers, but it's basically it's a matter of being willing to accept when you describe yourself in that one sentence what you're not going to include.
Right.
That's the really hard part, because it feels like it's an either or.
Yeah.
And I think it's only through meeting new people and having those different experiences that you start to understand, no, these other people are also creating work.
Absolutely.
They're actually building more of a platform for themselves. My decision to do that new music ensemble and so forth actually ended up making it a lot easier for me to concertize later when I was a faculty member at a university.
Sure.
I was commissioning new music and recording. It was easier to, in some ways, to open up those doorways that I always wanted to record an album and to play concerts, because what I was offering was somehow different but also really authentic to me.
Right.
And I wasn't one of the 18 Schubert proposals, so to speak.
Yes, and I think that's a key thing to consider as those of you who are listening are thinking about what steps you're taking in your career. It's a personal pursuit. There's no right or wrong path. It's just got to be the right path for you. And it sounds like you're really happy with the decisions you've made, and certainly making great contributions to the field with your work. So thank you for that. As you know, we talked about this just before coming on. There's a few questions that I'm asking of every person that comes on. So I first and foremost would love to know who is on your playlist right now. Who should everybody listening know about? I'll toss it on my weekly mix of artists. And so who are you listening to?
Okay, so beside, as we were saying, I have a 7-week-old son. So beside the baby music,
which is good,
it's good. What I've squeezed in listening to more recently. So three groups. One is an artist, Gabriel Kahane. Who some of your viewers may already be familiar with. He has this great album called The Ambassador, came out a couple years ago, where he basically writes songs about Los Angeles and different locations in Los Angeles. But he's got a new project called Book of Travelers, which is coming out this year. I haven't actually seen it yet, but he's touring. He's going to come to Ann Arbor.
Oh, nice.
And it's basically a song cycle, I believe. It's a work that he wrote while traversing the United States on Amtrak, 9,000 miles, to better learn the country in the last 6 months. So he's an interesting guy because he blends sort of classical music background and aesthetic with the mindset and also the aesthetic of an indie musician. So awesome guy, great music. Second group is an Australian future soul quartet called Hiatus Coyote, which some of you probably know too, but I tell everybody about them. They've got several albums out. They're just an awesome group blending elements of funk and soul and hip hop and jazz.
Fantastic.
Just a lot of fun. And then the third group I'd mention is actually a group of students or recent alums actually from Michigan. It's a group called the Khemia Ensemble, Khemia. They're a new music collective. They also use an interactive lighting display that's kind of linked in as sort of an extra musician, if you will.
Nice.
So light is one of the instruments that they play with. And they are, they have classical music performers, but they're also composers embedded. So there's a lot of original music that they perform.
Oh, that's really fantastic.
So I don't know if they're on Spotify or Pandora yet, but keep an eye out for them.
Yeah, and I'll definitely put a link to them in the description of the video. And thank you for those recommendations. Sure. Specifically, Gabriel Kahane, who everybody should watch out for him coming into your town. Make sure you grab tickets along the way. It sounds like a fantastic performance. I'm interested in knowing one resource, app, both digital or analog resource that you're using that our listeners should know about.
Sure. Okay. So one of the biggest challenges that I face in this role is managing like multiple projects at once. And that's, I think, a norm for anybody who's working on independent projects or working with an organization. So if you aren't using Asana, A-S-A-N-A, it's a totally free task management software.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. It's changed our office work environment.
That's great.
It allows you to work more remotely as well. And it's just a great tool for making sure that you can move projects forward on multiple fronts at once.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'll definitely check it out. That sounds fantastic, actually. And talk to me about a book that what are you reading? What's on your nightstand? Are you reading with a 7-week-old? Is that?
I am.
Okay.
I'm reading all sorts of things, that are appropriate for that age group.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to share with you today is a book that I'm really excited about. It's by Amy Whitaker. She's based at NYU now. She's a visual artist and also a consultant. And the book is called Art Thinking. And it's basically a book that I wish had been written 10 years ago when I was first getting interested in this work. And it basically talks about how to carve out creative time in our modern world.
Oh, wow.
And blends, it actually takes nomenclature and strategy from the business world and infuses it within artistic metaphor to really illustrate accessible, concrete examples for how to improve not only the kind of creative space that we need to do the projects that we want to see happen, but also to become more effective in the work that we do as a manager or in an administrative position. Fantastic book, easy reading, but nonetheless really robust in its philosophy. So
I'll check it out. That's fantastic. And finally, what are you excited about? What's coming down the tubes in the next 5 months or so that's really exciting for you and your job?
Yeah, so one of the most exciting things that this is new for us, relatively new, is that we have about $100,000 in funding we provide to students here on campus, performing arts students, to develop new projects, to put them out into the world. And as part of that, we have a new partnership with National Sawdust in Brooklyn. So
that's amazing.
They're going to be presenting 2 or 3, a handful of our student groups and projects in the coming years. And we're hoping that's going to be an ongoing collaboration for years to come, but we'll be announcing the first cohort of groups that are going to be able to go out there for residencies, showcases, and other opportunities in the coming months. So we're excited about that.
That's fantastic. Well, good luck with that process. It sounds like an exciting one, and thanks for taking the time to talk today. It's been great to work with or meet with you.
My pleasure, Nate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Good.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.